What's going on, race fans, racing gamers? It's Road Warrior. I want to make some suggestions on our next NASCAR game that we have. The current game it's not bad. There's a lot of basic stuff about it. There's a lot that could be added to it. And here are my suggestions for the 2017 and beyond games. Now for 2017, I don't want much, which might sound weird. I do not want much. If you're going to give us a game in September, I don't want much. Maybe a car pack, maybe a patch to fix the current game. You could even add on so you can have NASCAR Heat Evolution 2017 edition, where you can buy the full game if you don't have it, or you can buy an add-on if you already have the game, and just switch back and forth between the two seasons. Now I'll tell you why I don't want much. People come to NASCAR racing games in February. The Daytona 500 reaches 11 to 14 million NASCAR fans. 11 to 14 million. The Chase averages 3 to 4 million, with your best race being Homestead, which got 6 million this year. So your best race reaches half your audience that could potentially buy your game. You want the games coming out in February. I know there's a Christmas market that you're going to miss, but your NASCAR fans are all going to be watching in February. This is when Papyrus would release all their games. And when I was in league racing with NASCAR Racing 2003, we saw a jump in drivers in February as a race to get people to come join your league and try to keep them all season. Because they were there, and you could grow your leagues that way. So that's 6 more months to make a better game. So I don't want much in 2017 if you can give us a whole lot for February 2018. Some things this game's really missing is just the eye candy that we're used to in today's video games. There's not much going on around these tracks. There's nothing in the sky. There's no light flashes from bulbs going on. There's no sparks from the cars as they hit the wall or hit each other. There's cartoonish smoke which blinds you. There's more we can do with this, and I saw it suggested elsewhere that you use the Unreal Engine 4, and I'm going to support that. You should definitely use the Unreal Engine 4. The things I've seen amateurs do on YouTube with that engine are quite nice. You could take the scene where the driver's driving in real time and put it up here on the Jumbotrons to, as you drive past the big TVs at Texas and Charlotte, that you see yourself racing. And maybe if you get a glimpse here at Bristol of the TV above the track, you might see yourself too. You can do that in real time. The shading is going to look a lot better. One of the things missing from this game is you don't feel like you're going fast. And I feel like the Unreal Engine would clear that up a whole lot, especially with the shading that engine does. Also, you should have blimps around the track and those airplanes with the banners. Just something to give more immersion. You don't have to go full Forza on us where there's flashing colors and leaves floating across the screen and all kinds of other stuff that don't add to the racing, but there needs to be more than what we currently have. Also, moving on the tracks, Bristol in particular does not feel like iRacing. I know iRacing has a standard with laser scan tracks, You don't need to have laser scan tracks, but you should be able to get closer than some of the tracks in this game. The transitions from the bankings are real abrupt and don't really work with the current physics. If you drop your tires past this seam, you're gonna get hooked and wrecked, and you're in the middle of the track. And that's like that on all the progressive banked tracks, and it's like that if you clip the apron. It's really hard to save the car, and that's not. And it'll grab you like a hand grabs the car out of the sky and just twist you around, which is not realistic either. The lap times at some of these tracks are nowhere near the lap times that they're driving in real life. So you need to match up the tracks in the physics mode. We should be doing 15 seconds at Bristol. We are a good 2 seconds off the pace. With custom setups, we're 2 seconds off the pace. So there's a lot of room. It might be horsepower with the car, it might be the track itself, but there's a lot of room to work with. And next thing is sounds. Sounds are terrible. Y'all know the sound's terrible. You've worked on it a little bit. The new spotter packs are a lot better than what we had, but the quality of sound in today's game is a lot better than this game. The industry standard for racing games, in my opinion, is Race Room. And you can go get that game for free on Steam. And you get a couple cars and a couple tracks, and you can just listen to those sounds. They are amazing. And if you can come close to replicating that with a good sound engineer, it's going to help the immersion factor of these games a lot. I touched on physics earlier. You have two different physics mode in this game, an arcade mode and a simulation mode. I think the best way to go about physics is have one standard physics model and then have aids you can turn on and off. So if I was driving, I would run with no aids and expect a somewhat realistic or a believable and consistent physics model. I don't need it to be perfect. I'm not looking for y'all to be iRacing. I'm not. And then if I give it to my kids, mid-race I should be able to turn stability control on, traction control on, anti-lock brakes, maybe a brake assist, because my kids do not brake. At least my 8-year-old, he will not brake, but I can, some of these games turn brake assist on, he can get himself around the track pretty well. I should be able to change it from manual to automatic. That should all be able to be done mid-race. Like, I should be able to turn a few laps, pause it, give the controller to my kid, they unpause it, race around the track, pause it again, and then I can go back and race and finish it. Like, that should be mid-race. I have never gotten the rear tires to break traction under race conditions. I've spun out because I'm loose and my setup was trash, but I can't spin the tires. I feel like these cars are down on horsepower a lot. I should be able to break the rear tires. I should have to be playing with the throttle for traction purposes, not just for my line through the corner. And also, last thing with physics, I think I might have already touched on it, but these physics are pretty basic. They could use, like, you should be able to run through bumps and not run through bumps and the car be more believable. Run brush the apron and you might get loose, but it's not going to grab the car and twist it. So the car should forgive more through track conditions. I will say I liked your garage setup layout. It's real simple. You make one adjustment and changes one thing on the car on the track. You get to some of these games and one thing changes everything, and you get two adjustments down the line and the car is not doing what you're trying to get to do. With the kind of game format you have, a simplistic setup garage is what you want. Some of the changes could be tweaked to be more realistic. I can take the cambers and max them out, and all it does is give me grip. It doesn't hurt my tire wear. Grill tape doesn't give me front downforce. It doesn't make me faster down the straights that I feel. I mean, I could be wrong, but there should be, the garage changes could be tweaked to be more believable. But I really like your garage. So don't think I'm trying to be negative on your garage. I like it. Another thing I like about your game is the AI. I do. The AI you can race. That's why I bought the game. I went online. I went to YouTube. I saw other people playing the game. I saw your AI and said, those graphics are terrible. That sound is terrible. I want to race that AI. And I've quite enjoyed running against the AI. Even on the default setup, this is me saying how you can prove it. I do like the AI. Even running the default setup, my corner entry is a lot faster than these guys, and I tend to run them over. And there's just parts of the track that they're not driving like a player would have to drive the track. Forza has driver towers where they take information of drivers, and that's what you're racing against. One thing that'd be really cool if y'all could do is if you could take the real drivers, put them in your game, like bring them in, have them race around the track a few times, and take their lines like they race in the game. That'd be awesome, and that would be an awesome marketing ploy right there. Like, we had drivers come in and run lines, and that's what you're racing against. Now, it might be a little time consuming, and you might not be able to get a lot of drivers to sign on to that, just because of the time that it would take to run laps at all 23 tracks or whatever. But it'd be cool if you could get something similar to that, or if you could just have a group of people come in and run in a beta test, and then pull the lines off what they're doing and adjust the speeds per the percentage the player's using. Another thing with percentages, they're not real consistent track to track. There's tracks that I am destroying these guys on at 105%, and there's no way to turn it up. And there's tracks that they just take me to town at, and I can't do anything about it. So I believe that you as the dev at 100%, like you as a dev in the default setup should be driving at 100%, and that's where you should model the AI strength. Is what lap times you're running in a 100% default setup. That's what times the AI should be running. And you should have a wider band. Like, give us all the way up to 115% or 100, maybe even 120, depending on it. Because we start getting these setups to run wide open through the corner. There's a lot of tracks that I do not lift on in this game, and I just blow the AI away. So you at default setup 100%, no matter, like, you 100% default setup, That's where the AI model should be. And yeah, I like this game. It's fun. There's a lot of room to grow. The career mode can be done a couple different ways. And there's a lot of different theories of thought that aren't necessarily wrong that you could do in a career mode. Like you can say, hey, I'm a driver, and you can sign on for teams to get better. Like I know there's some EA games way back in the day that as you progress through your career, you could get signed by real teams. And they could be fictional teams or whatever. Or if you wanted to control everything yourself, you could set up a career mode where you have to buy chassis per track type and engines, and you could soup up an engine and chassis to be really good at a track, but you run that chassis once, it's not going to be rebuilt by the time the next races, and you gotta use your backup chassis. There's just a lot more you can play with. The career mode's real basic. There's a lot of creativity, I would say, that could be added to it. So I hope the devs listen to this. I hope I didn't rattle on too long. I look forward to seeing how this game looks in the future. And it wouldn't take much for this game to take off like some of the other NASCAR games did. Like I still have friends that play games from 2003. And if you look on the YouTube community, Dirt Daytona is still widely played. If you could clean up some of these things, this game could be as well received as those were. Also, one final thought. The current game is done on the Unity engine, which you could take this game, update the skins for whatever current year there is, and put it on an iPad and an iPhone, and get your under 10 crowd playing NASCAR games. And then when they become teenagers, they'll play the console versions or the PC versions, and you can make them so you can grow with them. Like you got the tilt control on the iPhone with this Unity engine game, and then you go to the console where the graphics are a lot better, and you got some aids to help you out as you start out. And as an adult, you gotta manage that traction. Can't burn your tires on corner entry, can't goose it coming out. And you got 43 cars or 40 cars not to wreck against. Some DLC thoughts. I know I said one final thing. Some DLC thoughts while making this video. You're currently just selling paint jobs. NASCAR has a series in Mexico, a series in Canada, a European series, and the K&N series. And you can put those on a rotation to sell as DLC per year, and sell hometown tracks and these other vehicles with. And they'll make that game special. Like 1 year you can sell the European cars and tracks, and next year you can sell the Canadian ones, and then you'll like that group of people. Since you're selling this worldwide, that group of people would want that year's game. Like they'll make demand on that game for that DLC. And I've been trying to think whether you can include trucks and Xfinity in that, but those would make such a good career mode that I wouldn't I wouldn't take that away from people because that adds to your career mode by a lot. So, appreciate y'all taking the time to listen to me ramble.